Well, I see so many familiar faces here, so this is so exciting. So for those of you that do not know me, I am Kathryn Ewern, and I've been doing this since 2020. I always like to hear other people's stories. So a lot of people that are here are my group members, which I'm honored to have all of you. So if you're not part of my group is Primary Market Laser Partners. We're approaching about 19,000 people now. We started as a group of 5 people just sharing ideas, and it has since grown. I can't say enough about it. All the members in there, they're so helpful, and they've really helped me grow. I've made some amazing connections, and a lot of the group members meet up at places like this, and really we just have a really good time together. So I'm honored to have all of you here. I consider everybody my friend. So we're going to be talking today about what we all need to do to grow our businesses, and that is delegation, because we can't do it alone. So we're going to be talking about why we need to delegate, the cost of not delegating. We're going to be talking about some SOPs. I have my husband here and my daughter in the front row, and he's been in operations his whole career. So he is a pro at writing SOPs. So come along with me. He has been learning a lot from different vendors and different talks. And so he's going to be helping me even more with my SOPs. So we got to get into this delegation mindset. When we think of delegation, we always are thinking of it's going to cost us a lot of money, but it really does not need to be that way. So my presentation is Delegate to Elevate. And this is one thing, a statement that I learned from Jason. Is this the highest and best use of your time? Because we are spread so thin. Are you doing stuff that others can be doing? So I'm quoting Jason. This is something that he always brings up to me. Should you be doing that, or should somebody else be doing this? So this is one thing that I really want you to take away from my presentation. Are you using your time to the highest and best use? One of the things that I follow a lot of different business owners, and if you know me, I just talk to everybody. So one of the things that has really struck a chord with me is, are you the business owner? Or are you the business operator? If everything is depending on you, you don't own a business, you own a job. We don't have jobs, we own businesses. And so when you're leaving to come to these conferences, how is your business running without you there? So Cheyenne is in the audience, and we were just talking about, Cheyenne just opened her very own store, and she was just talking before we came in here. Her store is running without Cheyenne being there. And this is a goal that we should all have. So delegation is a dividing line between a business owner and a business operator. We've done a 9 to 5. I am a full-time teacher. That's never a 9 to 5. But I did work at Walgreens from the age of 16 till I was 34 years old. At 34 years old, I resigned from my pharmacy technician's job and I concentrated on teaching. But I went into Walgreens, I did my job, and I came home. We don't have jobs like that. We own our businesses. So when I bring up delegation in my group, a lot of people think that delegation is money and spending money, but it does not have to be like that. So why do people avoid delegation? Well, time efficiency. We believe it's quicker to do a task ourselves than explain it and to oversee. So how many times do we just say, I'm just going to do this myself. I'm going to do this myself. It's just easier for me to do it. It takes time. It takes time to train people on how to do something like we would do. Fear of mistakes. Everything that leaves our business, we put our stamp of approval on. So a lot of times there's a fear of mistakes. If we delegate it to somebody, are they going to pay attention to detail like we do? Control issues. I am a teacher. Are there any other teachers in the audience? Okay, no teachers. So, yeah, she said, does it count if I wanted to be one? It's funny you say that, because when I was in school and I was peer tutoring, I told my mom, Teaching is not my calling. I never want to be a teacher. And well, here I am. Been teaching since 2008. So, when it comes to delegation and control issues, I'm always in control in my career, in my job, because it's my classroom. I control that environment. We get very reluctant to hand over our responsibilities and those core aspects of our business. Perfectionists. I think we can agree that we are perfectionists and we want everything to be perfect. Before I came here, I engraved a MakerFlo cutting board. I designed on Canva. Customer loved it. She's picking up this weekend. I was like, son of a gun, that plus between the two names was not centered. So I reached out to her and I said, you know what? I said, I hate to tell you this. I said, I'm going to redo that when my order comes in on Saturday. And she's like, it's not that big of a deal. No, but it is. It's my work. And I noticed right away, I designed it, I engraved it, and it just doesn't look good. So I just said, give me till Saturday. I'm going to redo that because I only believe in perfection. Lack of systems. An absence of established processes and procedures makes delegation difficult. We need to have systems in place. And this is one thing while growing our business that was definitely lacking in what we were doing, because we just get hit with this surplus of orders and it just gets chaotic. I don't know about you, well, many times I'll engrave a product and get it ready for packaging and then I can't find what I need. We need systems in place. We have systems for shipping, we have systems for packaging, we have systems for engraving, we have systems for prep. So one of the things that I need you to take away is that delegation is not a loss of authority. It's just structured leadership. So one of the things that I've noticed that people have been talking about is hiring employees. Who has hired employees in their business? So a handful of people. For many years, like I said, we've only been doing this since 2020. But for about 2 or 3 years, Jason kept saying, you need to hire help. You need to hire help. And I was like, to me, hiring help was a loss of profit. I felt as though if I'm hiring somebody, then I have to pay them. And if I'm paying them, I'm losing out some of my profit. But hiring help was one of the most important things that we did for our business. Let me tell you a story about my first hire. So those of you that are following in the group, I got Serenity. She is a senior in high school. She's a fantastic young woman. I now have Serenity's sister, Savannah, who's a freshman in high school. I got Jason. He's one of our employees. I got Jay up front here. She's 9. She helps a lot in the business. And I have my mom and I have my dad. Sometimes I even bring in my aunts. So there's a lot of people that are helping with our business. So let me tell you a little bit about Serenity. How did Serenity come to me? Every year around Christmas time, I do the mitten tree at school. So the kids can buy a mitten and they buy gifts for the needy in our town. And I give them extra credit. I said, if you go and get a mitten, then I will give you extra credit. So little Serenity, when she was a freshman, Serenity came up to me and she said, I'm going to get a mitten. I want the extra credit, but I don't want to ask my parents for money. I said, okay. I said, so what do you need from me? And she said, can I work for a primary market? I said, do you want to work for a primary market? And she said, yes. Do you have anything that you can send home with me? Is there anything that you need done? I would like to work to make $10 to buy a gift for the mitten tree. So she came over and immediately she listened to everything that I said. She was packaging for me to perfection. And at that moment, I told Jason, I said, we need to make this a goal. And he's like, I've been telling you this for how many years? I was like, yeah. So Serenity, since she was a freshman in high school, has been one of our employees. So of course, over the summer, she works a lot more for us. But during the school year, on Sunday, she'll just tell me her schedule for the week. And then we will put her into where we need her appropriately. Now, there's times that she's a senior in high school. There's times that she's busier than other times. So between Savannah and Serenity, we always have somebody that is going to be helping us with our business. And these are the things that I started noticing before we brought in that help. Burnout, exhaustion from carrying all of our responsibilities. At the end of the day, we are tired. And a constant theme of my year is, that I've been talking about in my group is, am I gonna stop teaching? Am I gonna do this full time? I just can't walk away from teaching. I absolutely love it. I still need that fix. But at the end of the day, when I get home from Market Academy from teaching, I usually get home about 1:30, 2 o'clock. I do a little bit, I go pick up Jay at school, come home. We work till about 9:30 at night before we turn off our machines. But there's many times that I am so tired, I'm burned out from carrying all the responsibilities. There's slower growth. There's limited capacity for expansion and innovation if you are just one person. Inconsistent execution. When you get tired, when we are rushing, that's when our mistakes are happening. That's when I screwed up that MakerFlo board because I was rushing to get here. And I was like, I'm just doing this myself. I didn't follow any of our SOPs. And that's when my mistakes were happening. Bottlenecks. When you are the only one that's doing the business and you have all these orders coming in, it starts bottlenecking. Revenue caps. If you're the only person, how much could you actually get done? And you got opportunity loss. Missed strategic activities due to overcommitments. One of the things that Jason is helping me with the business, he is still working full-time as well. And Jason has been going out, and I've been talking about this, and I've been talking about samples in my group a lot. But when we're talking about opportunities, Jason is another face of primary market. He has been going out. If you know Jason, you know that he loves Mexican food. Like, that is his food of choice, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So Jason's been going out to different restaurants during the week, and he's meeting up with a restaurant one per week. And guess what? He's bringing samples. So while I'm at school and I'm teaching, Jason is out marketing and he's looking for opportunities. And it's working out really well. The conversions are coming in. They like what they see. Everybody likes to see their logo on some products. So you just pick a couple random things that would fit the business. And it's been so great. He's been my little marketer. So when it comes to delegation, what are some of the things that we delegate as a business? Well, repeatable tasks. So something that we just started doing with repeatable tasks. We hired my dad. My dad is, how old is Grampy now? 75. So Grampy will be 76 pretty soon. So my 76-year-old father has been coming to our house while I'm at school, and he's been doing these repeatable tasks. And this is something I keep telling people. Your parents, they want to help you. We look at Grampy, like, we think of Grampy as being older, but he's still pretty agile. And he's been coming over and he's been doing my patches. So if I have a bulk order or a corporate order, he's been engraving my patches on my F1 and my F2. And in addition, he's been writing my Mira 9. And also I have a Mira 5 red line that I do tumblers on. We thought that the funniest thing is, Grampy doesn't use profanity. He never does. My mom showed me a text message from him, and he used profanity, and he said, I'm running tumblers, I'm making patches, I'm carving wood, I'm doing it all. I'll save you the profanity. And I laughed and laughed. It's giving my dad a new sense of purpose. And when you hire people, they do feel very valued helping you out with your business. I won't tell you how he paid my poor dad. It's next to nothing. So I guess we started delegating to my parents when we first started this, because my dad presses all of my patches. So I'll give him a whole stack of hats, and he'll go out into his garage and he'll press my patches. And he'll come in and he'll be like to my mom, and he'll say, Sherry, I just did all these hats. I'm really making some money. And she's like, yeah, Rick, that's great. He's like, I made $2.56. I'm like, oh, poor dad. You know, but like administrative work, I despise doing administrative work. Like scheduling, email management, data entry. And Serenity is a pro when it comes to administrative work. She knows how to get in my Shopify. She knows when we're getting low on products. She does my ordering. Operational processes, core workflows that can be broken down and assigned to each team member. So we, as a team, we all have different tasks. So Savannah, who is Serenity's sister, she doesn't do as much as administrative work, but she is definitely with the repeatable tasks, like my dad comes over and does. Savannah is fantastic when she's doing repeatable tasks. Who got on the penny train around the holidays? I introduced it on the 22nd of December because I'm done. Remember, like we have a cutoff. We're done. We're not making any more ornaments. We're not making any more Christmas. We're not doing any more Christmas orders. And then on the 22nd, I was like, I'm just going to introduce this penny ornament. And I posted on my social media. I have 20. I have 20 that I'm going to offer if you need a little something for your Christmas party. How many did we sell, Miss J? Over 2,000. Now, is that typical for primary market? No. Do you know what 2,000 boxed ornaments that are leaving your house looks like? We sure didn't, did we? Like we made it all from True Flat. We got slammed with those penny ornaments. There were so many things that we did right, but there are so many things that we could have done differently. We kind of deviated from our SOPs, and that's where we ran into problems because it was like, I just gotta get these out. So Josh that's in the audience here, he's gonna be speaking after me. You know, one of the things that I'll never forget when we were in the thick of trying to do 2,000 ornaments, he said, he's in Tulsa and I'm in Ottawa, Illinois, not Canada. And Josh messaged me and he said, you need help? I got points, I'll fly up and help you. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. But we called in all the help and we got it done. But it was a chore. And even at the post office, they're like, how many more? I said, I don't know, it's crazy. You know, I was sitting at dinner last night and somebody placed an order for 4 more penny ornaments. I was like, but why? You know, like, I'll do them. We got a surplus still at home. But that's when there's absolutely no way, that's a prime example, there's absolutely no way that we could do that without delegation. There's no personalization. It was all repeatable tasks. What about the prep work? How many times do we have to mark the center of a board? How many things do we have to mask? How many things come into your business and we have to unbox all the stuff? We have to inspect all of that. All that prep work can be delegated. That's not our responsibility. We're too valuable. We have to keep on telling ourselves we're too valuable to be doing that kind of stuff. Is this the best and most effective use of our time? What about cleaning and assembling goods? I love True Flat because I can just wipe it off. That's not my job. It's not a hard task to do, but when we were in the thick of 2,000 ornaments, I didn't even have time to wipe down those ornaments. So a single mother reached out to me and she said, hey, do you need anything done? She's like, I got some time. I'm off work for a couple days for the holidays. If you need any help, I'd be happy to help you. I gave her stacks and stacks of true flat ornaments, and she made extra money during the holidays when it was needed the most. I felt so good about helping a mother out during this time of the year, and she felt so good helping me and making some extra money. That's how delegation works. And systems. Some systems are essential. I've written a couple SOPs. Jason's a master at writing SOPs for workflow. I'm gonna have him do some more SOPs as we're bringing in more people. And even for ourselves, you know, when the mistakes start happening, why are we making mistakes? Are we following our SOPs? Well, obviously, all those went out the door this week because I was just running around and running around. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for all that running around and all that chaos. Create written checklists. This is one thing that we really have to focus on too, because Jason will say, like, how did that name get spelled wrong? That was me. That was all me. You know, on our checklist, if we have like who's double checking the spelling, those are the things that when we have these systems in place, this is going to limit our errors. We do not have time to do things over. Define clear quality standards. And this is one thing when you're training your employees. Establish measurable criteria for success. Serenity and Savannah, and my mom and my dad, they know what our standards are. So I'm wearing my brand. You're following primary market. We like bows. We like big bows. Our whole entire brand is all about the bows. And I can talk about packaging all day long because that's what we do. I told my mom today, I said, I'm gonna go on today, I'm gonna be talking about delegation. She's like, well, you need to share with them that you did all your packaging this week. I said, I did. Just trying to get it out. She's like, you need to tell them too that I redid all your packaging. I was like, Mom, why? And she's like, so on the JDS boxes, I had 2 tumblers that she had, and this is what she's referencing this morning. On the top of the JDS boxes, they always have the product code, and I don't like it. So I take a piece of white sticker paper and I put it on the top. And I put my sticker on top of the white paper and it looks like perfection. She's like, you cut that sticker in your sleep? She's like, it was so crooked. I go, okay. And she's like, I redid that. She's like, I'm your packager. You delegate that to me. She's like, don't do that. And that's where I broke our systems. You know, I always tell my students at school, we learn from our mistakes. I did a lot of learning this week. Vague instructions. You don't know how many times my mother will call me and she'll be like, your instructions are crap. I'm like, Mom, what do you want me to do? She's like, I need to know exactly what you need from me. Okay, I said, I thought we've been doing this long enough. You know what I need. She's like, no. How many times did she come over and she's like, tell me again. I want you to write this out for me. She's like, you can't just give me this stuff and expect me to know what to do with it. I was like, okay. So vague instructions, we're learning. You can't have vague instructions. What about deadlines? There's often times when she'll be like, when do you need this done? Like today, she's not home. She's watching my brother's dog, her and my dad, and we're here. She's like, well, what about those penny ornaments that came in last night? One of those need to be out. I was like, Mom, next week, it's okay. No authority granted. Serenity, Savannah, my mom and my dad, they know how important they are in our business. We do not micromanage them. We give them authority to make decisions. If Serenity goes out and she starts to engrave a tumbler and that tumbler's not looking good, she knows how to change the settings. Micromanaging, we can't do that. Periodically, I'll go out into the to the garage when somebody's working out there, and I'll just do a little spot check to make sure that the tumblers are looking good. But when we're micromanaging, that's taking us away from everything else that we could be doing. No learning curve. We had a learning curve when we first started this business. When you're hiring help, there's going to be a learning curve. One of the things that Josh said on the panel yesterday with Samita and Kurt, he said, you know, you need to budget for mistakes. When you're hiring help, there's going to be mistakes, and it's just part of the process. I'll never forget when I set Serenity on her own and she started engraving all these 40-ounce tumblers, and she got through 20 of them. And we started cleaning them, and they didn't look good. And she said, I'm so sorry, I just screwed up all these tumblers. I said, it's part of the process. It's part of the process. I should have went and checked the first one when she first started doing tumblers, but I didn't. And there was a huge loss because we screwed up all these tumblers. But we have to allow people to make mistakes, because that's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to learn. So leadership creates capacity. Stop asking, how can I get this done? And start asking, who can own this outcome? Websites. There's many times that people say to me, well, how can you charge that? My market would never pay $18 for a penny order. I mean, how can you charge that? I said, because I go nationwide. So speaking of my delegation to the website, one of my website designers is standing over there, Tristy from SNA. And when John Modi from MakerFlo was talking to me about delegation, he's like, you need to delegate your website. And I said, I can't afford that. I can't do that. He said, but you need to do that. You can't do everything yourself. So Tristy's husband, Arpit, there's oftentimes I just, like, he's learning to speak like the Kathryn language. And he's just like, okay, yeah, I know what you need. And there's many times I don't have time to upload my products. I don't have time to upload new listings, but I got Arpit gets it done in such a short time. So I think that when you pick stuff that you need to delegate, that's going to really help you to scale your business. Many people get very intimidated by websites. I had a Wix website first, and it was very intimidating, and then I went to Shopify. And these guys are running my back end of my Shopify. They're doing my listings. They are changing my banners. All the stuff that would cost me hours and hours of time, they are doing it. What about photography? Who loves taking pictures of their products? Oh, no hands. I hate taking product photos. I was just telling this story last night. I'll never forget when we were working on the website, and John and Arpit and Tristy, they were like, you need consistency in your photos. They're like, your photos have absolutely no consistency. I said, yeah, I know. I'm well aware of that. He said, you know, you gotta work on the lighting. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. And I was like, okay. I spent 6 hours trying to photograph one pencil. And so I said it to Tristy, and she's like, oh, that's nice. Your lighting's very bad. Why don't you go? I was like, I spent 6 hours on this. So she gave me a whole tutorial on how to take a photo. And I said, I'm never doing that. I'm not doing that. My time's very valuable. And I'm not exaggerating. It was hours trying to take a pencil and take a photograph of pencil. Not doing that. I delegate that. I box up my goods and I ship them over to Chelsea Tay in Ohio. Funniest thing is, I've never even talked to Chelsea on the phone. We talked to like Facebook Messenger. But when it comes to product photography, she is a professional photographer. It's not cheap, but I'm at a point in my business that her professional photos are selling my products. So for me, that was a good investment, and it's giving me my time back. So if you want to check out my website done by SNA, my product photos, my website is primarymarket.store. And I'm just so happy with my website. So if you go on my website and you see any spelling or grammatical errors, probably something I updated. Definitely wasn't Arpit. So, like, somebody will be like, hey, Kathryn, you have a grammatical error. I was like, thank you. That was on me. But that goes back to we're spread so thin. One of the things that I want you to do when you go home, if you're really interested in expanding and delegating, list everything that you did last week and highlight only what you can do. What are the things that only you can do? All the other stuff needs to be handed off to other people. But like I said, I never knew much about delegation. It all came from John. He would tell me over and over again, you shouldn't be doing that. You need to delegate that. There's oftentimes I think to myself, how does John do this all? He definitely mentors me. He's running this successful business. He's got all of this going on. How is he successful? And he's like, I got a team. He's like, I delegate. I delegate it all. Spoiler alert, I didn't even make my PowerPoint. I just gave him a list of all the things I wanted to cover. And he's like, here's your PowerPoint. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's great. So the next thing, delegate one recurring task this week. What's one thing that you can take off of your plate? Create one SOP per week. If you don't know anything about standard operating procedures, or getting really good at ChatGPT, go into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to make you an SOP for your business. I went downstairs today and I got my workout on. That was more for my head rather than my fitness. And I was on the treadmill and I just put in some stuff to ChatGPT on how to make an SOP for primary market. And I was just amazed at what it can do for a business within 5 seconds. And one of the things is increase delegation gradually. I think this is one of the things when people get in touch with me like, well, tell me about your employees. It didn't happen overnight. This is a motto that I live by. Keep it simple and do it well. So when you start delegating one thing here and there, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't have to do that anymore. Wiping down TrueFlat, masking boards, assembling boxes. Little J here is 9 years old. Her bank account is growing. She keeps reminding me that I'm not putting money in her account because I'm always like, okay, I know I owe you $20. I know I do. Well, everybody else gets paid on time. Why don't I get paid on time? So, she's like, I think you owe me $5,000 now. I was like, I probably do. But Jay is constantly helping. She's fantastic at constructing boxes. Even if it's 10 minutes at a time and she can construct 20 boxes for me, that's stuff that I don't have to do. So delegation doesn't have to mean money. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. It's just the tasks that we should not be doing as a business owner. We don't want to be business operators. We want to be business owners. We all have a talent. We all have to be more confident in the fact that we have so much to offer to our customers. Cleaning ornaments and assembling boxes is not what we are skilled at. We have to hone in on what is our skill and delegate the other tasks. I just think that, especially like in my classroom, I talk for a little bit and then I get the feedback from the kids and we go from there. We have open discussions. So I want to know, what kind of questions do you have for me, for us, moving forward with delegation and growing your business? I love talking business. I love teaching people how to run their businesses. So what kind of questions do you have for me? Yes. How do you hire Jay? How do we hire Jay? If you don't know Jay, she's been featured in MakerFlo blogs before and Xtool. Because this summer, Jay went down to the children's fair in the park and she engraved pencils on site right before school started. And she made over $300 engraving pencils. So I learned so much. I learned so much from that experience. One of the things that really drew some attention was Jay painted little rocks, and she put little scenes on the rocks. Just took a couple minutes to paint these rocks, and she hung a tag on the rock, and she hid them around the park. If you found the rock in the park, bring to booth 11 and you can get $2 off your purchase. You have no idea how many people came to booth 11 because they found a rock. And this is kind of like segueing into his presentation. How was she successful? She made eye contact and she talked to everybody that walked by her booth. Everybody that walked by, she's like, hi, and what are you shopping for today? And I was like, oh, that was good. And then there's a couple that came back and they said, we just keep buying more because we just want to talk to your daughter. I was like, oh my gosh. So Jason and I, we went out to lunch at one of the local restaurants, and she stayed down in the park with my mom and my dad. And these little kids at the restaurant had pencils, and she crocheted too, and you sold some crocheted items. And I went up to their table and I said, I like your crocheted items there, and I love your pencils. And their mom said, you gotta go to Washington Park. There's this little girl down there, and she's making them on site. And she just talked, and she's so professional, and she's the cutest thing ever. I said, I know, we think she's pretty cute too. And they're like, her name is Jay. I said, and I'm her mom. I was like, oh my gosh, it was such a great experience for us. But you know, when you have children at home and they're watching you grow your business, you're teaching them. She's watching us. She's learning about how to be professional. She's learning about talking to people. And this is one thing that I see in my high schoolers too. They can't make phone calls. Serenity wanted to go to a football game and it was raining, and she's like, I need a poncho. And she said, do you have any ponchos? I said, no, I don't have any ponchos. I said, why don't you call the Dollar Tree and see if they have ponchos? So what? And she's like, I can't make a phone call. I said, are you kidding me? She said, it's half of her class. She's like, I'm not good at making phone calls. That's not one of her tasks. We don't delegate that to Serenity. But when we have our children watching us, they're learning professionalism, they're learning how to talk. And I do delegate tasks to Jay. She likes doing it and she likes making money. I can go on and on and on talking about what I love about our industry. But I think it's just so important to really hone in on what you are good at. You know, I am an Amazon affiliate. I post deals every day. Well, I haven't this week because I've been busy, but you know, when it comes down to it, we have to do what's right for our business. We have to really hone in on the products that we enjoy doing, that are making us money. But I look at all these different things. We can't do it all. There's not enough time in the day. But you know, if you learn how to grow your business through delegation, it makes it that much easier. We have less burnout. We have more time. We have more opportunities. So I think that, you know, we keep talking about the differences. What's the differences between APA and Next Level? I think Next Level has a lot of like new businesses, and this is more mature businesses. So I might not be telling you anything that you don't already know, but I think it's really important that we're honing in on what we do the best. And it goes back to Jason's statement. What's the best and most effective use of our time? And we're pricing our products. We have to make sure that we are pricing our products when we are hiring that help. But you know, I encourage you to go home this week and make that list and highlight only what you can do. Delegate one thing per week. Create that one SOP. But you just do it gradually. Like I said, I learned from the best. I learned all this from John. I call him my business mentor, whether he likes it or not. But like, I've just ran into so many opportunities because of this team. So we started primary market because we were nervous about our financial future. Jason was working, got laid off indefinitely from a nice paying job. I'm working as a parochial school teacher. If you know anything about working as a Catholic school teacher, we're not in it for the money. But primary market has opened so many doors and so many opportunities for us, and we couldn't be more grateful. So we're providing for a future for our daughter based upon opening our small business. So if you're not already in my group, I would encourage you to come in and see what our group has to offer. I'm a teacher. That's where my heart is. You know, and there's so many people that reach out and they'll say, hey, I hate to bother you. I say, no, I teach. It's what I do. I love teaching. So, you know, even if I step away from the classroom, which I just don't see myself stepping away completely, I still feel like I'm teaching and educating on the daily in my group. So I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy days to come listen to me. But like I said, go out there and make the most effective use of your time. So I will stick around if you need anything, and I appreciate you coming in.